Well, hello, happy Thursday. I am feeling a little under the weather, so I do apologize for any sort of throat issues that I may have. And I'm answering two questions this week because it was a tie when I surveyed everyone. So I will address how to get past the applicant tracking system, and I will also address how to find specific jobs. So we will talk about both questions. So want to start off by telling you a little bit more about the week. I had my Get Noticed LinkedIn and Resume workshop with the Burlington Public Library in Tansley Woods location, and that went really well. A great group of individuals, and I know I got a lot out of it, and I certainly hope that they did as well. I also launched the Facebook group, so that was something that was very exciting. So it's the career networking group for the Halton region. I launched it Tuesday. We're already up to like 75 members and growing, and so that is amazing. So if you live and or work in Halton, then you can find it on my page, just career networking group. I'll also link to it below this video so that you can join in on the networking fun. So the questions. So I'll answer the applicant tracking system one first. Actually, no, I did have one other thing. In case you're interested in knowing exactly how many pages recruiters want to see your resume, sign up for my newsletter by the end of today, and you'll get that in your inbox tomorrow, because that is the recruiter secret. A big recruiter survey was just completed, and so have this information, have a few different things that I want to chat about, so that's very exciting. So sign up for that. So the applicant tracking system, the biggest thing is like don't try and trick it. And I've seen it. I've seen people who are applying, say, to like a developer position. I remember one in specific. I was a Java developer, and this person, it was a career change, which, like, I believe obviously in career changes, but tried to trick the applicant tracking system by writing Java in white letters, all surrounding the resume content. And yes, this person ended up being ranked #1, which was quite surprising. And when I did a select all, changed the format, changed the color of the font in the resume, saw that there was a bunch of Javas sort of hidden. Obviously that person did not get a call for an interview. I've also seen where you put in a watermark, an invisible watermark on the paper, and yeah, if you're not a fit and if it's not what they're looking for, you cannot trick, because at the end of the day, yes, maybe you are tricking the applicant tracking system and getting a person to see your resume, but they won't call if you're not a fit. In fact, you may even be blacklisted from that applicant tracking system, saying they never want to see your resume again. So one way to get past it is not to trick it, okay? The key is obviously in the formatting of your resume and the content of your resume. So for the formatting, you want standard headings. You want to call it work experience, professional experience, a skill summary, or professional profile. Don't try and come up with interesting names because that won't get picked up properly. Don't use headers and footers. That information gets lost. So if your contact details are in a header and nowhere else, the applicant tracking system may not pull up any. And actually, even beyond the applicant tracking system, I know going through resumes where they have applied directly, just viewing them or previewing them in Outlook, any information in the header I never saw. So if I was just sort of iffy and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll call this person, but then I just needed that one little extra bit of work to open up the resume, and I was already kind of iffy, then I might not open it. So then you might not get a call. So don't use headers and footers as a way to showcase your name and your contact details. And especially now, I talked about the texting, where an applicant tracking system will initiate a conversation with a candidate through texting. Well, they can't do that if they don't have your cell phone number. If your cell phone number is buried in a header that is not getting pulled by the applicant tracking system algorithm, then they will not initiate that texting conversation. So all the more reason not to have that on, as that is a more popular direction that a lot of the bigger applicant tracking systems are taking, the texting. Make sure you don't have too much formatting in your resume. The key really here is no columns and no tables, because a lot of that information gets lost. No graphics, so any sort of graphics that you may use, like you see in the super modern, the Pinterest resumes, where they have like the circles that sort of show the overlap of where your experience is. Like, no. And you're compromising the rest of the information by having that in your resume. So make sure that is not in there. And then that is essentially what you have to do for the formatting. The color, you can use color, okay? And you can take a traditional resume format and use strategic uses of color to make it more aesthetically pleasing, so that when a person does view it, when it does get past the applicant tracking system, that you're having it set up for success with them. Now, in terms of the content of your resume to get past the applicant tracking system, we talked about the format and how the resume should look. So now let's talk about the content. So the key with the content is keywords, okay? And key phrases as well. So making sure that the keywords that you're using are in alignment with the keywords that the job posting is using. So we kind of go back to that Java programmer. If the job title and everything they talk about is software developer, software development, and in your resume you have everything in programmer, programming, you're going to want to make sure and change all of that to develop, so that you don't take any chances and that all of those keywords are picked up. Same with things like in administrative roles. There are different ways that you want to make sure that whatever keywords they're using is the same keywords you're using. Now, you can't populate it with keywords just to populate it. So you can't put in things you've never done before just so it's there. So don't try and, again, trick it, because we don't want to do that. But you can add these keywords to the skill summary is one of the best and easiest places. And then changing out where you're using them in your the body, the bullet points of the work experience. So, and that goes with key phrases as well. They may state things in a specific manner, like and maybe in specifics in how they use a technology or how they undergo a process. So make sure that the phrasing sort of lines up with how you describe using that technology or going through that process, as some examples. The other thing is acronyms. And this is a big one, because you get so enmeshed in the world. Like, I always use ATS, and Dylan was right to say, what does ATS mean? Because to me, I know what it means. But in a resume, you have to do the same. The applicant tracking system doesn't always just read acronyms properly. So you're going to want to write applicant tracking system and then in brackets ATS. So this goes for any sort of acronyms that you would normally use, and have it spelled out entirely once with the brackets, with the acronym, and then you can use the acronym throughout. And this goes for the cover letter and it goes for the resume. Okay, so that is how to get past the applicant tracking system. I do have a post or an article that I did once on how to optimize your resume in LinkedIn. I will link to that, because there are a few other things, especially with your LinkedIn, that I didn't talk about today. I just talked about the resume that you want to consider. So it's definitely a worthwhile read. So the next question is how to find specific jobs. And so this was for both of them. They've got the same amount of votes, so we were tied. So obviously something people are struggling with. So there's a few different ways you can really narrow down to find specific jobs. So the first thing I want you to do is do your research. Because if you are looking for administrative roles or like the development roles that I was just talking about both, there exists so many different job titles for those roles. Like for a software developer, we have software developer, computer engineer, software engineer, computer programmer, software programmer, just a programmer, programmer analyst. Like I can go on. And same with administrative assistants. There are so many different job titles, sometimes even used within a company, that are essentially the same job. So you need to do your research to see, are there different titles that could be used for the specific job that I want? And then that way, when you're setting up alerts in Indeed, or you're searching manually the job postings, it allows you to really ensure that you're getting all of the jobs that you want to be seen. Okay, so that's one thing you can do to find those specific jobs. Another are those niche job boards. So are your specific jobs in a specific industry? If so, there are job boards for industries. There's IT job boards. There's not-for-profit. There's the government job boards. There's culture job boards, education. Like most industries have specific. And then there's job-specific job boards. So sales and marketing job boards, HR job boards. So you're going to want to see if there's any niche job boards that perhaps a company only posts there and perhaps does not get picked up by the job aggregators like Indeed. So it's nothing to add another job board or two to your list that you check to make sure you're having your bases covered. I do have a checklist of 20 niche job boards that I will link to below so that you can access that and make it a little bit easier for you. So I will do that. The other key, probably if you've been watching any of these or follow me at all, won't be surprised to hear networking. So networking, considering 70% of jobs are found through networking, you will not be surprised for me to say that finding a specific job may require some networking. So through networking, I mean using, say, LinkedIn to find people in those jobs, to see what sort of profile they have, what companies are hiring those specific jobs. For example, like remote jobs. And I did talk about how to find work from home and remote jobs a couple of Q&As ago. I can link again to some good articles and websites that sort of describe where to find those jobs, because that could be one of the specific jobs that you want. But seeing what companies hire those jobs and then trying to create connections within them so that when a job opening does pop up, you already have a way to network your way into it. So that is essentially the 3 different things you can do to find specific jobs. So looking at niche job boards, researching the job titles, that's probably the biggest one. And then obviously networking is kind of like the biggest one, but the researching the job titles will really give you the knowledge of what you need to know to figure it out. Because even if we were talking about those work from home remote jobs, they are called many different things. Virtual, work from home, remote are just some of them. And a lot of them, like some bigger, larger companies where work from home is pretty standard, they may not even advertise it as such. So really sort of figuring out by talking to people, by Googling, by researching will really help you out. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for coming and watching, and for those of you who watch later on. So I addressed how to get past an applicant tracking system without tricking it, through making sure your resume is formatted properly and through using the keywords and key phrases. And I talked about how to find specific jobs through researching all the different job titles that it could encompass, using niche job boards, and how to network your way into those jobs. Don't forget, I have the career networking group. If you're in Halton region, live and or work, feel free to reach out to there, where we can sort of support each other on our road to career happiness and career success. And also, if you want to know what recruiters say they want to see in terms of how many pages your resume should be, then sign up for my newsletter. I'll put the link below. You can also click sign up on my Facebook page, and you'll get that tomorrow. Have a great day and have a great week, and I'll see everyone next week. Bye.